The book of Luke, the 17th chapter, verses 26 to 28, the Bible records, "And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also, as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded." Exodus 32, verses 4, 6 to 8, the Bible records, "And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And they rose up early on the morrow, and offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink, and rose up to play. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go, get thee down, for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way, which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt."
In 1989, three unlikely heroes turned the old film business into a modern merchandising machine. The first emerged from the shadows to create a new genre.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
1989's Batman is the blueprint for everything that follows it in comic book movies.
A teenage girl helped revive one of the most famous animation studios in the world.
You're not getting cold fins now, are you?
Once Little Mermaid took off, it just became an engine for merchandise.
And a punk kid from America's Crud Bucket was poised to become a global phenomenon.
Thanks, man.
It had the heat of a flash in the pan, and it wasn't a flash in the pan.
The man who is wholly absorbed in his counting room. The man who finds pleasure at the gaming table. The man who loves to indulge perverted appetite. The frequenter of the theater and ballroom put eternity out of their reckoning. The whole burden of their life is, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? And wherewithal shall we be clothed? They are not in the procession that is moving heavenward. They are led by the great apostate, and with him will be destroyed.
Pan.
In 1989, studios began to realize the movie's performance at the box office was just its first act.
What these are actually global branded franchises. The impact that they had would ultimately change the nature of Hollywood and the studios.
Among the most dangerous resorts for pleasure is the theater. Instead of being a school for morality and virtue, as is so often claimed, it is the very hotbed of immorality. Vicious habits and sinful propensities are strengthened and confirmed by these entertainments. Low songs, lewd gestures, expressions, and attitudes deprave the imagination and debase morals. Every youth who habitually attends such exhibitions will be corrupted in principle. There is no influence in our land more powerful to poison the imagination, to destroy religious impressions, and to blunt the relish for the tranquil pleasures and sober realities of life than theatrical amusements. The love for these scenes increases with every indulgence as the desire for intoxicating drink strengthens with its use. The only safe course is to shun the theater, the circus, and every other questionable place of amusement.
The Black Panther is on track to pull in $194 million just this weekend.
Another record-breaking weekend. Incredibles 2 outperformed even the outsized expectations.
Avengers: Infinity War is sweeping movie theaters.
This is 640 million worldwide. It's like mind-boggling.
Today, movies and TV shows are merchandising machines. In recent years, most of the top-grossing films have been sequels or franchises. But in 1988, the average Cineplex had far fewer familiar characters. Rain Man was #1 in theaters, but no one turned it into a video game or a theme park ride. That all changed in '89, when Hollywood took 3 big risks that shifted the marketplace, including a producer's gamble on some Hollywood kryptonite.
And on October 3rd, 1979, me and my new partner, Ben Melniker, bought the rights to Batman from DC Comics. I put the rights to Batman in my back pocket, come out to LA, and am turned down by every single studio in Hollywood. The head of production from Columbia Pictures said, Batman will never be successful as a movie because our movie, Annie, didn't do well. I said, what does that have to do with Batman? And he says, oh, come on, Michael. They're both out of the funny pages. So Ben and I met a bright young guy named Peter Guber, and I did the whole pitch to Peter of the dark and serious Batman. And he said, I get it.
And it would impact Hollywood for decades to come. Superhero films today still follow the Batman formula. First, give a comic book hero an edgy makeover. Then, hit us with non-stop action. And plenty of comic relief.
Yes! We know each other. He's a friend from work.
And as for marketing, even today's movie posters look familiar.
That movie is the blueprint for everything that follows it in superhero and comic book movies.
There is no Marvel universe without Batman 1989. The impact that they had would ultimately change the nature of Hollywood and the studios. It's not just about the movie itself. It is also spawning many, many different revenue streams on an ongoing basis.
But it sold a lot of merchandise. That film just happened to capture the zeitgeist, where the audience was changing, the marketing was changing.
The movie didn't just kickstart the franchise. Batman would become a business that dwarfed Wayne Enterprises. Rides, cartoons, games. You could even eat Batman for breakfast. Batman was just the beginning in what was to become a turning point in the business of Hollywood. Hot on its heels, 2 fresh faces were angling for a piece of the action.
Eat my shorts. Na 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 na.
In Bible Echo, August 26, 1895, paragraph 11, we read, there are periods which are turning points in the history of the nations and of the church. In the providence of God, when these different crises arrive, the light for that time is given. If it is received, there is spiritual progress. If it is rejected, spiritual declension and shipwreck follow. 1989, as we heard in the last clip, was a turning point in the entertainment industry. But not only that, in our very first video, we highlighted that 1989 was also a turning point on the political stage. We read from Wikipedia. It says, 1989 was a turning point in political history with the, quote, revolutions in 1989, unquote, which ended communism in the Eastern Bloc of Europe.
Today, the very word Disney is synonymous with fun for the whole family. And its kingdom is so vast, it's hard to remember that time in the 80s when Disney animation was floundering.
Nothing much had been happening. Disney himself had died, and there was no understanding of like what the animation team was supposed to be doing. In interviews, even the head of Disney was saying that they just had an animation team because, you know, they were supposed to. A lot of people were very worried about whether or not Disney would ever make a good animated film again.
In the book of Proverbs, the 6th chapter, the 16th and 18th verse, the wise man pens the following words. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. An heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief.
So how would Disney connect with its core audience? A journey under the sea.
Disney saw that there was a possibility to do something that would bring back the lighter side. They really wanted to get those younger audiences back and get them singing. And that's something that was very different, was the fact that before The Little Mermaid, we weren't having like movie musicals. Those were not regular. But The Little Mermaid signaled that Disney animation was going to be here to stay. It was a juggernaut.
So was the marketing of these films. More than 100 different Little Mermaid products are sold on the Disney site today.
Once Little Mermaid took off, it was just this progression that you could feel that it was invigorating everything. Number one, it became obviously an engine for the parks and for merchandise. Little Mermaid was just the beginning. That engine really exploded, you know, with Beauty, and then with Aladdin, and then with The Lion King.
The Disney animation renaissance was in full swing, and everyone was taking notice, even the next big thing. The Simpsons. Whether you thought they symbolized America or the decline of Western civilization, they were about to become the biggest stars on the planet. If you were channel surfing on the night of December 17th, 1989, you had a few options. The Seahawks were playing the Raiders. There was Murder, She Wrote, of course. Or maybe you happened upon a 10-year-old getting a tattoo. Who knew this was going to be the biggest thing in entertainment since, well, there was really nothing to compare it to.
Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6, the Bible says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it."
And at the beginning, Bart hit as a huge star, as being like an almost out of control kid.
Uh-oh.
And like Principal Skinner, not everyone was on board with Bart's antics.
The most popular Bart shirt is causing controversy. Some school officials don't like Bart's attitude.
It was such a panic for teachers. We got letters sent home to our parents that encouraged them to not let us watch the show because it encouraged a certain kind of disobedience.
Teachers were very upset. The president was upset.
We are going to keep on trying to strengthen the American family, to make American families a lot more like the Waltons and a lot less like the Simpsons.
Huh?
We are living in perilous times, when those who profess to love and obey God deny Him in their daily lives. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. God does not want you to be found among this class, dear youth. In His word you may learn how to shun these evils, and in the end, be overcomers.
Simpsons. You see the influence of The Simpsons in humor everywhere. That kind of cynicism mixed with sweetness in almost every modern show.
In 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10, the Bible says, "For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows."
Parks.
30 years ago, the studios expanded their playbook. Just getting eyeballs wasn't enough, so they found a way to encompass every aspect of our lives.
You gotta remember this is a business. It's not about making you a better human being. And if you find nourishment in a movie, fantastic, good for you. It's not their aim. They got what they wanted out of you. Cha-ching.
Hollywood's golden age may have been in the 30s, but the town struck a new kind of gold in 1989.
Well, it's called show business. It's not called show. And when anybody in the film business tells you they're not interested in any money, you want to get on your horse or in your car and run as fast away from them as possible, because they're not recognizing it's an economic enterprise. And the idea that Batman succeeded made Warner Brothers a fortune of money, a fortune. The studios kept looking for that pot of gold, And now they've brought it to an art form because they've exploited those characters, ad infinitum. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as it was properly gained, that's the way it works.
All who can do so will spend their hard-earned pence and shillings and pounds for a taste of pleasure, for strong drink, or some other indulgence. The paper that report the poverty of the people have regular standing notices of the horse races and of the prizes presented for different kinds of exciting sports. The shows, the theaters, and all such demoralizing amusements are taking the money from the country, and poverty is continually increasing. Poor men will invest their last shilling in a lottery, hoping to secure a prize, and then they have to beg for food to sustain life or go hungry. There is enough frivolity existing all around us, having a tendency to discourage serious impressions and to put God out of the mind. Thousands of youth have bid fair to be an honor to their parents and useful members in society, who have in an evil hour yielded to the tempter who came in the form of a professed friend and for the first time broke over the barrier to their conscience and attend the theater to see and hear the performance of some celebrated actor. Everything fascinates them. Their imagination is lively. Their senses, their hearts are carried away captive. They are intoxicated with excitement. They leave the theater, but their imagination continues to dwell upon the scenes they have witnessed, and they are anxious to go again and again. They acquire a passion to witness theatrical performances. In attending the theater, they place themselves in the most dangerous company and are exposed to the deceptive, fascinating charms of the gambler, the sensualist, and that class of females whose step take hold on hell. They yield to temptation and continue their downward course until their consciences become seared, and they will not hesitate to degrade themselves by any vice.